Hi, friend. Welcome to another episode of In the Unfolding of Becoming. I'm your host, Erica, and this is the space where we sit together in the middle, in the in-between, in that tender stretch of time where you've already left one version of yourself behind, but haven't quite arrived at the next one yet. Before we get into today's episode, I want to take a moment to revisit what we talked about last time. Last week, we had Joey join us, and she shared her unfolding, which is a transition of an adult child to a caretaker. She shared her journey and what it's been like to really step into and embody the role of taking care of currently her mom and what she has learned along the way. And as we all know, the role of the caretaker can take a lot of energy and effort. So she goes over some really great learnings that she's had and tips on how to continue to take care of yourself as you're taking care of somebody else. If you haven't tuned in, I encourage you to do so. Okay, today I want to talk about something that I don't think gets said enough in the conversations around personal growth and when we're going through a transformation. And that is that sometimes the unfolding requires us to be alone. Not lonely, not isolated, not punished, just alone with yourself, with whatever is moving through you. And I know for some of us, raising my hand here, because me included, that idea brings up a lot of resistance because it can be really hard, especially when you're used to being someone who is really social, who likes to be out and doing things. And the idea of standing still and being alone during a transition, which can bring up uncomfortable feelings, does not necessarily seem like the most fun thing to do. And so it can bring up a lot of resistance because being alone with yourself means being alone with all of it. The uncertainty, sometimes the grief of who you're leaving behind, the fear that you won't recognize who you're becoming, the questions that don't have answers yet. Oof, sometimes that's a scary one. And let's face it, we live in a world that is very, very good at handing us distractions right when those feelings start to surface. You can get on the phone and you can start scrolling. You can pick up a glass of wine. You can choose to go out and hang out with a friend. Something to fill the space before the feeling can fully land. And I get it, I really do, because I have done all of those things. There have been periods in my life where sitting with the feelings was just too unbearable. At the end of 2019, I had a very heavy time where a lot of things piled up, one right after another. A lot of them focused on grief, including deaths and passings that were really difficult for me to process, among a lot of other things. It just felt like a pile of lifing. And what I was used to doing in those instances when life got that heavy was getting on a plane and taking a trip and distracting myself. But at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, you know what happened. The world shut down. A pandemic hit. COVID struck us. Getting on a plane and leaving behind my circumstances was not an option. So what did I do? Instead, I packed my car. I packed everything in my car that I needed for a month or two, including my dog, and we set off to Sedona, Arizona. I'd always heard really good things about Sedona, that it was a place that offered peace and beauty and spirituality. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot. I'm working remotely. The world has shut down. Why not work from Sedona? And I did. And when I was in Sedona, the only thing that I could really do was sit alone and process all of the feelings that I was undergoing. And whew, wow, that was really the first time that I had done that. And I quickly started a routine. I'd get up in the morning and go on a sunrise hike surrounded by the red rocks with my dog, come back to the condo where I was staying. I was staying in a golf course, run around the golf course, come back, journal, make myself a healthy breakfast, sit down, get to work. Once work was finished, go on a sunset hike, come back, do some meditation, cook some dinner, and just relax and sit with everything that was coming up for me. And it took practice because I remember so clearly how much I wanted to not feel what I was feeling because those feelings were uncomfortable. I wanted to fast forward. I wanted to call someone and talk myself out of the feeling. I wanted to be further along than I was. I wanted the healing to be immediate so that I didn't have to sit in the shit. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it felt like at the moment. And what I kept doing instead, almost in spite of myself, was finding myself alone. In those hikes, I was alone, aside from my dog. When I was running, I was alone. When I was journaling, I was alone. When I was meditating, I was alone. And at first, it felt like loneliness, that kind of ache that sits right in the center of your chest and doesn't quite move. I'm not going to romanticize it and tell you it wasn't an adjustment. But underneath that surface level of loneliness, there was something else, something quieter, something that only had room to speak because everything else had gone still, including the world around me. Here's what I've come to understand about that kind of aloneness, the kind that comes up during an unfolding. It isn't empty. It's gold. It's full. It's full of you, the version of you that's been waiting for the noise to die down long enough to be heard. And the reason we resist it, the reason I resisted it, is because we've been taught in so many subtle ways that discomfort means something is wrong, that we need to fix it, replace it with something better. But what if that feeling isn't a problem to be solved? What if it's actually just a passage, a moment to be so that everything can work through us? I think about it like weather sometimes. You can't make it stop raining by wishing it's sunny. You can close the blinds and you can pretend. You can stay busy enough that you barely notice, but the rain is still falling and the ground still needs it. The feeling that comes up when we're alone in our unfolding, the grief, the tenderness, the not knowing, those are doing something. They're softening the soil for us. They're making room for our becoming. And when we run from them, we don't actually skip that part of the process. We just delay it. We carry it a little further down the road, a little more compressed, a little harder to hold, and a little harder to get access to. I also want to name something that I think is true but can feel contradictory. This kind of aloneness can be lonely and beautiful at the same time. Both of those things can live in the same moment, in the same season. The ache and the awe. The sadness and the strange, quiet sense that something sacred is happening. It is a bittersweet longing, a melancholy for something that is cherished, even in its absence. And I think that's part of what we feel during these in-between seasons. We are grieving who we were, even as we are becoming someone we need to be. And there's something profoundly human about that. You're not broken because this is hard. You're not doing it wrong because it can hurt sometimes. You're just in the middle of it. And the middle is supposed to feel like the middle. So here's what I want to offer you today. The next time you feel that pull to fill the space, to reach for the distraction, whether it's a flight like I used to do, or to call someone, or to doom scroll, not because you need connection, but because you need escape, just notice it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to sit in stillness for an hour. Just notice the impulse. And maybe just for a moment, let yourself stay. Let yourself be in the feeling. Let it move through you instead of around you. Let it tell you what it came to say. Because here's what I know to be true. You cannot unfold while you're running. The unfolding happens in the staying, in the sitting with it, in the willingness to be alone with yourself long enough to remember who you actually are underneath all the noise. And that person, the one waiting underneath the busyness and the coping and the carefully managed feelings, that person is worth being alone with. I want to get a little practical with you because I know that just be with your feelings is one of those things that sounds simple and that everyone tells us to do, but can feel completely impossible when you're actually in your unfolding. So let me give you some real tools, things that you can actually do to help you practice being alone with yourself without immediately fleeing. And I want to say before I get into these, you don't need all of them. You don't need to do them perfectly. Just find the one or two that feel like they have your name on them and start there. The first tool is one that we have talked about in previous episodes. When you sit down to be alone and you feel that wave of discomfort start to rise, instead of pushing through it or distracting yourself, just stop and name what you're feeling. Out loud if you can, or in writing. Not, I feel bad. Get specific. Is it loneliness? Is it grief? Is it fear? Is it restlessness? Neuroscience actually backs this up. When we name an emotion, we engage the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, which helps us regulate the intensity of what the emotional brain is feeling. Naming it doesn't make it disappear, but it makes it smaller. It makes it something you can be with rather than something that's happening to you. So the practice is sit down, get quiet, and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Give it a name. You don't have to fix it. Just acknowledge that it's there. Number 2, this builds on naming the feeling. Once you've named the feeling, find it in your body. Because here's the thing, emotions aren't just mental, they live in us physically. Grief sits differently than anxiety. Loneliness has a different texture than sadness. So close your eyes, take a breath, and do a slow scan from the top of your head down to your feet. Where are you holding tension? Where does it feel heavy? Where does it feel tight or hollow or numb? Just notice. You're not trying to release it or fix it. You're just making contact with it. You're saying, I see you. I know you're here. A lot of us have spent years living from the neck up, thinking our way through feelings instead of feeling our way through them. I'm an expert at this. The body scan is a way of coming back down, of remembering that you are not just a mind having an experience. You are a whole person. And your wholeness includes your body. Next tool, make the aloneness intentional. Because sometimes the hardest part of being alone with your feelings is that it feels infinite. Like if you let yourself go there, you'll never come back out. And that fear is worth naming because it's not true, but it feels true. So here's a reframe. Instead of waiting for aloneness to descend on you, schedule it. Make it intentional. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Go somewhere quiet, outside if you can. Nature just, at least for me, has a way of creating that space and that peace to just be. No phone, Leave your favorite podcast, hopefully it's this one, wink, wink, behind. No music with lyrics, just you. And when the feelings come up, and they will, oh, they will, let them move through you like weather. You know it has a beginning and an end. You know you're not going to be swept away. You are just sitting in the rain for 20 minutes, and then the timer will go off, and you will still be here. What I learned in Sedona as I was there for a month, a little bit over a month, is that those 20 minutes start to feel less like a threat and more like a return. It starts to become something that you look forward to, because the feeling that soon takes place is a feeling of coming home to yourself. Another tool that I have found useful: write a letter to jot down what needs to be said. This one is especially powerful during an unfolding. Take out a piece of paper, an actual paper if you can. There's something about the physicality of it. And write a letter you will never send. It can be to someone you're grieving, to the version of yourself you're leaving behind, to the fear that keeps showing up, to the uncertainty itself, to the life you thought you'd have by now. Write it without editing. Write it without performing. No one's ever going to read this. Say the messy thing, the ugly thing, the thing you haven't been able to say out loud. Let it be raw. Let it be real. What this does is give the feeling somewhere to go. Instead of circling in your mind or pressing on your chest, they move through your hand and onto the page. And something about seeing your own truth written down in your own handwriting has a way of making it feel real and survivable at the same time. The final tool that I have for you today is the simplest, and the one that I want you to hold on to for when the resistance is loudest. When you feel the urge to flee, to pick up the phone, to distract yourself, to escape the feeling, just say to yourself quietly, I'm staying. That's it. 2 words. I'm staying. It's a declaration. It's a choice. It's you saying to yourself, I am not abandoning you. I am not running from this. I am here and I am staying. I am showing up for you. You can say it once. You can say it 10 times. You can whisper it or write it in your journal, or just let it settle in your chest like a hand placed gently over your heart. Let it become your mantra. Because the truth is, so much of our unfolding is just that. It's the practice of staying. Staying with the discomfort, staying with the not knowing, staying with ourselves when everything in us wants to scatter. And every time you do it, every time you choose to stay and show up for yourself, you are building something. You are building the kind of relationship with yourself that can hold everything that's coming next. So, friend, wherever you are in your unfolding right now, whether you're in a season that feels quiet and slow or one that feels like the walls are moving, I hope this lands for you. I hope you give yourself permission to be alone with it. Not forever, not without support, but enough. Enough to hear what's true for you. Enough to let the becoming do what it came to do. Thank you for being here with me today, for sitting in this space with me. Friend, I look forward to continuing to meet you in your unfolding. Until the next one, take care.